Are you fulfilling your function of happiness? Happiness, God being love, is also happiness, is today's lesson. And what came up for you over the last couple of days of sharing God's will of happiness for you? God's will for you is perfect happiness. It was really interesting to get to see over the last couple of days where I was choosing other than happiness. Did you notice any time in the last couple of days where you were choosing other than happiness? And were you able to release up to a point of that God being love and also happiness? Were you able to transcend, to release, to let go and come to happiness in situations where it didn't seem happy? It seemed like there was some kind of sin or wrong that was occurring. Were you able to release that? Sin isn't even real, it doesn't exist. It was pretty profound for me to experience that over the past couple of days. And that's the thing, when we let these lessons work upon us throughout the day, when we don't just release right now in this session, though we notice what's happening through the day and continue to release when we go through the day, we don't just hold this idea in mind first thing in the morning. We take this idea with us throughout the day. It's recommended to hold this idea in mind for 5 minutes every hour in the course workbook. So if you don't already have a course workbook, it's available for free online. It's also available on your phone in numerous apps where you can just have that lesson with you throughout the day. And they're pretty simple. So just even holding that idea in mind once an hour, oh, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Situation comes up. Ooh, this seems other than happy. Could I release? Could I let go? And could I just remind myself what's waiting for me? God being love is also happiness. Now, today's lesson, God being love is also happiness, is bringing up that there's this strange thing we do, or some people do. I know I do it. There's this fear. There's this fear, and that fear oftentimes is projected onto God. Oh, if I do this, then God loves me and I'm happy. If I do this, then God's going to punish me. I'm afraid. So, what it's saying here is God being love is also happiness. To fear God, to fear Him, is to be afraid of joy. So, oh, Giovanna says, yes, not choosing happiness and releasing the grievances and seeming conflicts. Recovering happiness once an hour and releasing really helps restoring the sanity. Yeah, absolutely. Just noticing, okay, we just actually spent the last hour releasing on fear in our group, which you can join at the link below for free. Release to results, where people bring up topics and we release them. And this fear, this anxiety, this worry, and that comes up is actually being afraid of joy, being afraid of happiness. It's believing in sin and wrong. So, God being love is also happiness. To fear Him is to be afraid of joy. God being love is also happiness, and it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. So, let's do some releasing of fear. Fear. And we're going to take a look at something that might be uncomfortable, though that's okay. Would you rather carry around this discomfort or bring it up and release it and allow the love of God, the happiness of God, that being our function here? Let's release. So here's this unlimited love. It's everywhere, it has no limits, it's everywhere. and therefore joy is everywhere as well. Yet the mind sometimes denies that this is so, believing there are gaps in love where sin can enter, bringing pain instead of joy. So, are there any seeming gaps in love and joy and happiness for you? And yes, it may in fact be an illusion, but it can seem true. And can you notice any feeling behind the seeming gap, behind the thoughts of somewhere where love and joy could not be? Would you allow whatever emotional cloud has been hanging around to come up? Bring it to light. Notice it, sit with it, feel it. And could you just feel whatever has come up for you enlighten? And could you let go of this gap, seeming gap in joy and happiness? Would you let go of this seeming gap, this emotional cloud, and therefore find joy everywhere, love everywhere? When could you let go of darkness and let there be light? There's no rush. It takes what it takes. The darkness cannot last in the light. If you simply allow yourself to shine on anything that seems dark. God, being love, is also happiness. And this happiness, this attribute of love, is everywhere. It has no limits. Joy is everywhere as well. Love is everywhere as well. And yet the mind can deny that this is so, believing there are gaps in love where sin can enter, bringing pain instead of joy. So, can you notice where you've been redefining love as limited? Uh, is there anywhere where it seems like happiness is not? And that's okay. Whatever situation, person, place, or thing comes to mind, could you go behind the thought of this and notice that feeling, that cloud that obscures unlimited love and happiness? Without making a big deal about it, could you simply notice there's a feeling there, some emotion? Could you feel that feeling? Nothing to fear, just a feeling, just a cloud. Could you let the cloud be there, let it pass? And could you release that cloud? Release that darkness. Let it be lit and disappear. Would you release any seeming gap or limitation of love and happiness? When could you release any holdback on love and happiness? God, being love, is also happiness, and it is happiness I seek today. And I cannot fail because I seek the truth, ever present, unlimited love everywhere, happiness everywhere, and therefore joy is everywhere as well. God, being love, is also happiness. And while it is impossible to be apart from God or love or happiness, sometimes the mind claims that it is possible, that there is some limitation on love or happiness. And that brings pain instead of joy. So, could you notice any strange belief you have in love not being somewhere, happiness not being somewhere? And whatever comes to mind, that's okay without stacking guilt or wrong or judgment upon what's come up. Could you simply notice how it feels when the mind has that thought pass through? Could you welcome this passing cloud of darkness to your light, allowing yourself to feel whatever it feels like, just watching it, noticing it? Could you sit with a feeling just lighting up this darkness, just with your presence? And could you let go of any limitation on love or happiness or God? Would you let go of this feeling? Give it up. Go of the darkness. Let it be enlightened. When could you let go and let God, being love and happiness and joy, be unlimited? This is a happy promise which God has made for you. Love and joy and happiness is everywhere. God, being love, is also happiness, unlimited and everywhere. Will you seek happiness today? Will you discover you cannot fail because you seek the truth? What is not an illusion, what you cannot release, we can only release something that isn't actually there. And could you look to this happy promise today? Seek that happiness. Choose that happiness. And if you notice anything comes up, like I did over the last couple of days, that seems unhappy, and start to substitute God's will for you being perfect happiness with something else, like fear being something to believe in, anger being something to believe in, guilt being something to believe in. You just notice that temptation and release that feeling behind that temptation to fill in the gaps that were never there in love and happiness. Will you seek happiness today and walk through any clouds of darkness, surrendering to God what doesn't even exist? Enjoy your seeking of happiness today. You cannot fail because you seek the truth.